everyone. Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure. My name is Kim Ari. I'm also the author of the book, The Diary of an Adult. You can see the photo behind me, right? So, what kind of book do you think it is? It's a diary. Yes, that's correct. The photo in the background is actually a picture of the diaries I've written over the past 21 years. Writing each and every word by hand, I continued for 21 years. Since I was 18, I've written a total of 47 diaries up to now. Yes, that's not counting the few I've lost. Still, that's an incredible number. Yes, having written 47 diaries, I proudly call myself a diary enthusiast. Me. Yes, looking back, I was a kid who always had a lot on my mind and tended to overthink things. So when it came to things like love, marriage, breakups, or even death, I would ponder them more deeply than others, lose sleep at night mulling over their meaning, and I actually enjoyed getting lost in such thoughts and daydreams. That was the kind of person I was. I started writing diaries when I was about 18, because around that time I felt like my mind was overflowing with words, and I needed a space to let some of them out. It felt like I just couldn't handle it all anymore. That's probably why I started. That's how I started writing. Another reason was that my family was hit hard by the IMF crisis and things became really difficult for us. Because of that, I couldn't open up to anyone about my feelings, my frustration, sadness, helplessness, and depression. So I wrote. At first, I simply jotted down whatever came to mind. Yeah, today this happened and it made me upset and annoyed. What should I do tomorrow? It was just a random jumble of thoughts like that. But interestingly and surprisingly, after about a month of doing that, I realized that it didn't matter what I wrote. As long as I wrote something, I felt relieved. That's the kind of experience I gained. For me, it was a truly surprising discovery, and I think it was also the beginning of change. These are some of the things I wrote in my diary in the early days. Honestly, you could say this barely even counts as a diary. But the secret to how I was able to keep writing in my diary consistently and enjoyably for over 20 years is this. At least when it came to my diary, I never tried to write anything grand or impressive. I would just open my notebook and let out whatever words came to mind. After all, I can't write about things that aren't inside my mind. So I decided to just take a closer look at what was already there and write down my observations. That was the mindset I had. So on some days, I would fill my diary with all the things I wanted to do in my 30s. And on other days, I would try to organize things like 10 memories that made me upset or sad just thinking about them. And on some days, well, up until my mid-20s, to be honest, my diary was filled with gossip about my mom and dad. I also wrote out my love life as if it were some kind of epic novel. Writing my diary like that, I felt an incredible sense of liberation and freedom for the first time in my life. For me, too, writing a diary had always been nothing more or less than a homework assignment, cramming 2 weeks' worth into a single day just to turn it in. I'm sure everyone's experienced that when they were younger. So I was always writing just to get graded, to get feedback, to show someone else. But for the first time, I asked myself, so, what kind of person are you? What exactly is inside you? I started to focus on this for the first time. Everyone, you probably have at least 1 or 2 good habits that you keep up on your own, even if no one tells you to, right? Or maybe you don't. Suddenly everyone's quiet. Yes, please try to recall that background now. If you think about it for a moment, you've probably experienced a bit of joy or a sense of accomplishment through that habit. For example, maybe you drank a lot of water and found yourself going to the bathroom more regularly, or you listened to movies in the background during your commute and one day suddenly found your listening skills had improved. What else could there be? Maybe you walked 10,000 steps every day and one day noticed you'd lost weight. Experiences like these, when they happen in your life, allow you to willingly devote your most limited and precious resource, your time, to that activity, because it feels good. right? It's because you have the belief and confidence that this activity is useful in your life. The reason I was able to keep writing a journal for over 20 years was the same. I didn't rely on willpower. Instead, I kept finding my own small joys and pleasures in it. For example, after starting to write diaries, I'd feel like my mind had cleared up. Or when I felt completely lost about how to live my life, I tried organizing my thoughts and desires through writing, and then I started to see a path forward. Or I finally figured out the reason why I had been addicted to sugar for so long. As these kinds of experiences accumulated, I realized that for something I could do by investing just 10 minutes a day, it was the most cost-effective thing I could do. There was no longer any reason not to do it. Above all, by writing diaries, the most amazing thing was being able to see parts of myself that I hadn't noticed before. Imagine having a steady conversation with someone you didn't know at all for about 6 months to a year. Even in that process, you would probably experience tremendous learning and self-reflection. But what if that someone is me? What would happen if I had a conversation with myself? Gradually, I began to understand those abstract concepts I had only read about in books, like living a life true to myself or the real meaning of happiness and success. As I got to know myself like this, my anxiety also decreased significantly, because now I know what kind of mindset I have when I act a certain way. Because I understand how my day starts and how my daily routine flows. And so 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 21 years passed. All the while I kept writing. At last I was able to truly see two things clearly. The first is my everyday life. Everyone, let me ask you a question. Where and how do you gain the confidence that you're living well? We often live so busily, rushing around without a moment to think. Am I really living well? There are times when you wonder about this, right? Yes, I felt that way, and I'm sure everyone sitting here has too. At those times, when you tell yourself, hey, I'm doing well, I'm living my life diligently, in my own way. The question is, on what basis can you give yourself that answer? For me, that answer comes from this. It comes from the confidence that I am managing my daily life well. Even if I'm not living an extraordinary or admirable life, I'm keeping the promises I've made to myself each day. That's the kind of assurance I have. When I write in my journal, above all, I can really see into my own daily life. Imagine for a moment that someone is filming your daily life as a vlog. If you look at yourself from an observer's perspective, you'll notice things in detail that you couldn't see before. You can check if I am really getting along with myself or not. The question of whether you're getting along with yourself well or not is not just about if you're on good terms with your partner or being good at your job at work. Those things aren't how you confirm it. Rather, it's about whether you're eating well, moving your body appropriately and on time, and keeping your surroundings tidy and organized. You can check by seeing if you're living each day while maintaining the order you've set for yourself. Kafka once said, "Everyday life is all there is to our existence." Our daily habits, attitudes, and mindset, this is everything. Everyone, do you truly understand what you think, eat, drink, desire, and dream of each day? You can do this by writing diaries. It's only when you zoom in and closely observe your day that you can really see it clearly. The second thing I came to truly see through journaling was my own heart. I used to believe that empathy and comfort could only come from others. But as I started keeping a journal, I began to think, let me become someone who can say the words I want to hear and do the things I wish others would do for me. Let me give those things to myself. I decided not to outsource my happiness to others anymore. Because after all, the lifelong companion I have is myself. Whether we like it or not, The person we have to live with for our entire lives is ourselves. So I chose to look a little deeper into my emotions, to understand them, and to cherish them. Looking into your emotions, writing a journal that observes your emotions, it's not something grand or difficult. In my case, as I wrap up the day, I check in with myself just like I would with someone I love most. How did your heart feel today? And I don't just ignore or gloss over the emotions I've experienced. So, what could I do for you that would help? I see. That must have been really tough for you. What do you need most right now? This is what I ask. My daughter, not long ago, well, it was last winter. After I picked her up from kindergarten, I was driving us home when she suddenly asked me this. Mom, what kind of grandma do you want to be? It was such a fresh question. So I answered, a really pretty grandma. But maybe that wasn't the answer she was expecting because she asked again. No, I mean, what kind of life do you want to live as a grandma? She said. So I paused for a moment to think. And then I answered like this. I want to be a grandma who writes a diary. Even when I become a grandma, I'll live my life writing in a pretty notebook. After I gave that answer, I briefly imagined myself in my mid-70s, writing in my diary. I started to wonder if I would even have anything to write about at that age. But I quickly changed my mind. Because when I first started keeping a diary at 18, I never imagined that I would keep writing in my diary so diligently all the way to this age. Because I thought that by the time I turned 40, everything in life would be stable, there would be no worries, and I would truly be an unwavering adult, as the saying goes. But guess what? At every stage of life, my worries and thoughts have changed. And as I tried to record those changes in myself each time, I found I had even more to say. Whether we're 30 or 40, we're all flowing like a river. This is your first time experiencing this, and this is the first time in your life, right? Today, too, is the first time we're living through this day. So we have no way of knowing what will unfold before me or before you tomorrow. So I think I'll keep on with this process of getting to know myself with excitement and anticipation. Some days I absolutely can't stand myself, while on other days I feel full of confidence. And then there are days when I feel disappointed in myself, and other days when I find myself loving who I am a little more. Even if I have to repeat this process 100 or 1,000 times, I promise myself that I will never lose interest in who I am. Anais Nin, the American novelist famous for keeping a diary for 60 years, once said this. There is no such thing as a universal meaning of life for everyone. We each give our own life its unique meaning and storyline. Each person is a novel, a book of their own. Wouldn't you like to try recording the book of yourself sincerely and thoroughly? That's why I hope more adults will start keeping a diary. Yes. It has been said that keeping a diary means believing your life is valuable enough to devote yourself to a book that no one else will ever read. Each of our lives is special and full of meaning in itself. So, try writing for yourself, not for anyone else. I'm sure it will be a truly wonderful gift you can give to yourself. Yes, thank you.